So here are the muddiest points is the topic that I'm supposed to talk about. And it's kind of, when I was asked, I thought it was kind of funny because I learned about muddiest points in another Refresh Teaching event from Ulrich. This is one of the first events of the Refresh Teaching that I went to when I joined ETH. And so kind of closes the circle. So, so the basic idea of muddiest points, if you don't know what it is, it's basically you tell students, tell me what is the least clear or what's the most muddy about a particular topic to you at the moment. And this is sort of, the event is about communication. And the question is, okay, so the question is, why do you need another channel of communication? Okay, so we have, we talk to the students in the classroom, we have office hours, we have Zoom sessions, we have email, we have forums, we have chats. What is special about muddiest points and why is it useful? And so I kind of thought, what are the points that sort of appeal to me in the muddiest, in using muddiest points? And one of the things I liked was that we acknowledge confusion as part of the learning process, which I guess very often when we tell students ask a question, we expect that these questions are well formulated, they're pertinent, they show a certain level of understanding already, and so on. And in the muddiest points, we just say, give me what you have, what's on your mind right now, and I really want to know the points that you're confused about, rather than students tend to ask questions about topics that they already know quite a bit about, right? The second thing is that it encourages communication during this time of confusion. And I'll say a little bit about when it's a good time to ask this muddiest points question. And it also encourages reflection about one's own level of understanding, which is sort of implicit in that. We ask people not, about the topic, but to think about how they think about the topic. And it's also an opportunity for students to learn from other students' questions. Very often when students come up after a lecture, this is sort of a typical situation when we were still in the classroom, the students will come down afterwards and then ask, oh, I didn't understand this, I didn't understand this. And typically all the other students have left. And in the muddiest points implementation, you have this opportunity that the other students can learn from that. And by answering these questions and writing the muddiest points questions, you build a lasting archive of questions, kind of like a frequently asked questions document, which you could then post for next year's students so they can look up what other students were confused about and what the answers were. And so here's the implementation in the course. So this is, we've done this in a number of different courses. It's sort of a recurring feature in a lot of these Center of Active Learning supported courses. And we very often have self-study, where students get some material or videos or self-study, quizzes and so on. And they work on the basics of a topic by themselves. And then later on, they will have a lecture, typically in the second part of the week, on that same topic with a faculty member. And the idea is to have the muddiest points after they've done the self-study. So they already worked a little bit on the topic, and then they have to think about, okay, what am I still struggling with? And that's when the students are asked to enter the muddiest points on Moodle online. Then we do a triage that's either done by myself or sometimes done by teaching assistants. and we then decide on 2 or 3 of the most important points that then should be addressed in the lecture. And if I give the lecture myself, then I will address them on some separate slides. If not, we actually give them to the lecturer and tell them, here, these are 2 or 3 points that students struggle with. Please address them in your lecture. And most of the lecturers do that then. And so they don't have to read all the muddiest points, which is actually kind of time consuming. So that's sort of a service we offer to the lecturers. The implementation in Moodle is quite simple. So we have here a typical sort of Moodle section for a course for a week. And at the end, we just have this muddiest points, which is implemented as a feedback with the feedback tool. And we just tell them, please tell us what you're confused about. And they have a free text answer field. And we typically get, let's say, 10% of the students, 15% of the students will fill this out. And you can certainly encourage that by giving bonus points for filling out the muddiest points, but that changes a bit the types of questions you get. You get more questions just to ask questions. So my summary, muddiest points is very easy to implement. You just put one of these things on Moodle and it's a new channel of communication. It's a very low barrier for students. We typically get a lot more students asking questions in the muddiest points than there would in the forum, than there would by email, and so on. It can be used in a broad range of settings. We have used this in smaller courses, but it really works best if you have this sort of course structure where you have some self-study and then a lecture event afterwards. You get a broad range of inputs from people just saying, I'm totally confused about this topic, to actually fairly sophisticated questions. And I think that's a nice feature. Do not underestimate, if you want to implement this, do not underestimate the amount of work that's involved. One thing is that if you offer this muddiest points and you say, okay, ask me your questions, I will answer them. And if you then don't answer them, the number of participants or the people who will use this tool will drop really, really quickly. And sometimes you get really very confused questions, and it really takes quite a lot of time to answer them in a good way. Easy to implement, but then in the back end, you have a lot of work. And what's really important is that you need to manage the communication and the expectations, because otherwise this very quickly can kind of degenerate, and you either get lots and lots of questions or you get silly comments because it's anonymous and so on. So got to be sure that you tell them what you expect from them, and that you then also follow through on what you promise. Okay, that's it.